This Warlock build has to be one of my all-time favourites. Whether you want to use this build in a solo Flawless Master Lost Sector or a Grandmaster Nightfall, then you can do just that with this build. But with this build, you will be causing some serious damage with overcharged Void grenades, getting almost infinite grenades, which is actually really good for ad clearing on tough ads, as well as causing damage to champions and bosses. Now you can optimise this build with many different mods and exotics in the game, as it really doesn't rely on specific things to maintain as an effective build. But this is your updated Warlock Void ability build for Season of the Lost, and before we dive deeper, be sure to check out my sponsor over at Awaya for cheap Destiny Silver and use my code DIVIDE for a sweet discount. And now guys, be sure to leave a rating, comment and subscribe if you're new around here and you want to see more, and now let's jump into it. Starting off, I will first mention that the background gameplay here is a solo Master Lost Sector with weapons of the opposite modifiers and match game shields, to show you that this build can really be used in any type of activity regardless, and the only mode that's more difficult than this is a Grandmaster Nightfall. But what this build does is pretty simple. It gives you fast grenades that cause some serious damage, and I've used this build in Grandmaster Nightfalls multiple times, but if you don't like the initial setup of this build, then you can make those slight changes. But I will give you my full setup that worked really well for me in GMs, and if this isn't the build for you, then be sure to check out that playlist link below for around 25 other different builds that you may be interested in. So as always, giving you that example of how you would use the build is simply charge your grenade and use it against a group of ads or a single tough target like a boss or champion. This will give you most of that grenade energy back, if not instant, while causing some good passive damage on top, and honestly, this solves all your overload problems as it can really be effective against those enemies while you're trying to stun them. Now you're not going to simply run around only using grenades, but honestly, if you took your time, you probably could do that. But this build is set up in a way that you can use that loadout that you prefer, as well as the mods. So going through that setup, starting with the weapons, like most of my build videos, there are no requirements, so you can use what you want. But if you are going into GMs, then you'll want your champion mods, which could be things like an overload bow, anti-barrier autos, or unstoppable fusions. But two weapons I'd really recommend are 1000 Voices and Vex Mythoclast, which are currently two top tier weapons this season for endgame PvE. For the subclass, we're going with a top tree Voidwalker, which comes with Chaos Accelerant, where holding your grenade charges it, and then throwing that grenade will be much deadlier and more effective than a regular throw. So slot on a Vortex grenade, as these will continuously damage enemies for a short time, which is what you really want, because the exotic we're going to be using is Contraverse Hold, one of the best Warlock exotics in the game, which improves the charging for Void grenades. This reads, resist incoming damage while charging your Void grenade with Chaos Accelerant, Feed the Void or handheld Supernova, and charged Void grenades return a random amount of energy on hit. Usually when you're throwing charger grenades on bosses and champions or a group of ads, you'll get that grenade straight back, or pretty close to it. If you want to guarantee infinite grenades, then you can slot on a grenade kickstart mod, as well as a firepower mod, but I wouldn't take these mods into a GM simply because you'll be losing your champion mods, so it's not really worth it unless you're going into easier content without champions. As for your main mods, the very first thing you'll want is Taking Charge. This is to become Charge Light when picking up Orbs of Power, which you will do often from Masterworld weapons, and this is one of the best mods for becoming Charge Light in harder content, but with this you'll also want Shield Break Charge for that extra source of becoming Charge Light, and then using those stacks we will be using Protective Light to gain significant damage resistance when your shields are destroyed. The best mod currently in the game for endgame PvE. Now your alternative mod is that firepower mod I mentioned earlier, or even extra reserves for infinite special ammo if you are using void weapons like a Null Composure, but ideally for this build to be effective with a better survivability rate, you'll want to go with Protective Light. Now for your normal mods, I went with double fusion ammo finder mods for our special and heavy weapons in the helmet, and then for the gauntlets I've gone with the champion mods I need, and you will have enough to slot on any mods that you do need. Then for the chest, you'll want some sort of damage resistant mod. I always usually go with Concussive Dampener, but if you got snipers then maybe a sniper resist is better, as they can sometimes one shot kill you, and using this mod will make it a 2-shot kill. But with this I have my ammo reserve mod for my heavy weapon, and then for the legs I've got my grenade cooldown mod when picking up orbs, along with the fusion scavenger mod from this season's artifact. But lastly for the class, I'm using Bomber to reduce that grenade cooldown when using our class, which you will actually do more often than you think in GMs and Master Nightfalls. But that very last mod will be Particle Deconstruction to weaken enemies with our fusion rifles, one of the best artifact mods in the game currently. This here is what your artifact setup should look like, but I do always change this for each build, so it's never really going to be the same. But But the stat you do want to max out is going to be of course that discipline for faster grenades, as we are a grenade ability build and we want that grenade back as quick as possible, even with the exotic slotted on. If you've already maxed this out, then the next stat to max out will be recovery for that faster rift cooldown, as well as increased recovery rate for your shield regeneration. Now overall, this is probably one of the best Warlock builds in the game, definitely up there with that Stasis Infinite Turrets build, and this one is definitely worth using if you want to do solo flawless, Legend of Master Lost sectors, or Grandmaster Nightfalls. It's also a great build to use in all types of PvE content like dungeons and raids, but this is more of an endgame Master to Grandmaster Nightfall build, and it's best used in those harder modes where your grenade can continuously damage enemies, so you get that straight back. So this has been your updated Warlock's Void ability build in Destiny 2 Season 15. Next, as always, be sure to check out that playlist link below for more top best builds to use in Destiny 2 2021 and give this one a try. But for now, post your thoughts down below on this build, and whatever you all get up to, I'll see you in that next video.